thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm Molly and we have Jack here as well.
Okay, that's great.
Hello. How are you keeping?
Hello.
Jack was just asking me a few questions that I'm sure that you will be much more able to answer. A lot about corals and cold water corals.
Okay.
Yeah. So I might leave you to that, Jack. You might have more questions, or you might want to ask more. I haven't specialised in corals myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of the one I was asking Molly just there was what kind of fish live in coral reef?
So it varies. Obviously, you've got the smaller fish, and then you've got the larger, bigger, more mammal kind of fish. Can I share a PowerPoint to this? Is there any way to do that?
So when you go onto the screen, the black tab down below, there's an option to share screen, and it has a green button on it. So I think once you do that, we can see it on your screen. Yeah.
Yeah. I have it.
Got it.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I should just talk through this, or you can just sort of flip through it and.
Yeah, I can leave you out as well, guys, if you want, or I can get rid of my video. It's just more for Jack, you know, whichever you'd be more comfortable with.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Don't mind.
Yeah, no, it doesn't really matter.
Okie dokie. So shall I just talk through this, yeah? Would you say?
And then, Jack, if you have any questions, you can just pop them in.
Okay. So I sort of specialise in coral reefs. I'm at university at the moment. I'm in my third year, just studying them. I've done a few research projects as well. So this is sort of my speciality, shall we say? So I sort of put it together, going through like what are coral reefs, because obviously we kind of look at them on a bigger scale and we see them as these large bodies, but actually if we break them down, they're actually really small and they're quite complex. So I don't know if you can see the little picture that's there. You can just see one polyp, which is like the little structure of just one. And obviously when you look at a big coral reef, this is made up of millions and millions of these little structures. So they're just really tiny organisms, and they're actually quite closely related to jellyfish, which people wouldn't think, because if you look at a coral reef, you don't think it's alive, you think it's just a rock. It's kind of common. Yeah, they are actually alive, and they've got quite a complex structure. So you can see they've got a little mouth, you can see like the outer layer, they've got tentacles on the top. So yeah, they are quite complex basically. I've just gone through like the basic sort of things that people like to know about coral reefs. I'm not sure how much you know about them already. This is like where they're located. So they are located in the more tropical zones, as you know, because you have to go somewhere hot to see them. Have you ever been and seen a coral reef at all?
No, I haven't.
Haven't you? It's amazing. You should do it. Once we're out of quarantine, try and get a holiday off your mum and try and go, because they are really amazing to see. So what can you tell me? If you look at the map, what can you sort of see there? Where would you say they're located?
Well, they're mainly located around Africa and in the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah, that's great.
The ocean.
Because what are the conditions there? What would you say the conditions are perfect for them?
It's warmer.
Yeah, and they've got like the perfect pH, which is like the acidity and how alkali the water is. So that sort of allows them to just grow and thrive and be at their best conditions. Obviously, further on, I'll talk about the issues that were sort of with those conditions and how those conditions are changing and how that's sort of affecting the coral reefs. So here you go. Here you were asking about all the organisms that are found in the coral reefs. So if you look in the top left hand corner, and we'll work sort of along to the right top corner, if you get what I mean. So you've got the butterfly fish. They're actually really, really common. You see loads and loads of them, but there are lots of variants within that group. So you've got at least 114 species, which is quite a large amount for coral reefs, which is actually quite a small ecosystem. And moving over to the right, you've got the sea cucumber, which is quite a weird looking organism.
Aren't they really poisonous?
Yeah, you can get poisonous varieties of them. You can, some of which are really small, and you can get some which are really, really big. I don't know how big you can, like, up to this sort of size, which is quite scary, and they're very, very slimy. Quite a few of them are very slimy. And then on the top right-hand corner is what people sort of say the Nemo fish, but it's actually, we call it the clownfish. It's sort of the better.
I've never seen Nemo.
The what, sorry?
I've never seen Nemo.
Haven't you?
No.
You need to watch that.
I think it's like
Film.
the movie.
Yeah, it's like
Both
my
of you
childhood
recommend it?
movie. Sorry, what did you say?
Both of you recommended it?
Yeah, exactly. It's a definite watch. And then you've got an eel, which is moving on to the second row. These are, again, I've put some quite weird looking ones on here. And again, like you said, with the sea cucumber, you can actually get some which are poisonous, and they can reach up to like 3.5 meters in length, which is pretty
Quite big.
yeah, pretty big. And then you've got shark. I thought you have to put shark in there because they're the most commonly associated, you should say, them and dolphins, but I thought we'd go for a shark. If you know, there's like more than 1,000 species of shark. There are loads and loads and loads of sharks, with like more being discovered as well. And they have an incredible weight of up to 11 tons as well. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, can you tell me what that is?
It's an octopus.
Yeah, because I actually really struggled. I typed it into to get a picture of it, and I was like, "What are they giving me a picture of?" Obviously, it's camouflaged, and that's pretty wicked. I thought just to put a picture in of that.
That is quite cool.
You what? Sorry.
And the thing just broke there. It doesn't matter. Oh, the Red Sea. Okay.
Yeah. You got it.
I'm rather interested in the Red Sea.
Are you? This is
Yeah.
perfect. I actually did a documentary here in the Red Sea, which I sent to David Attenborough. I did it for I had an extended project that I had to do on it, and I did a massive documentary on it. I could try and send that across to you. Although it's quite embarrassing, to be fair. There's quite a lot of my face very hot on the seafront, which is probably not the most flattering look for me, but never mind. Yeah, so the Red Sea is actually quite a small coral reef, and compared to something like the Great Barrier Reef, which is obviously a lot bigger. And actually, when people say coral reef to people, they don't really think of the Red Sea. They more think of the Great Barrier Reef. It's a little seawater inlet of the Indian Ocean. You can see on the map there. It is, some of the world's hottest and saltiest seawater is in there. And again, it is just the perfect condition for coral reefs. And being in a sea rather than a bigger body of water in like an ocean location, it has its strengths and its limitations, because it sort of makes it a little bit more a smaller body of water, but it can make it a little bit more vulnerable to things like human impacts on it, so tourism. So because it's quite localized, the impacts can be quite big in that area. Yeah, you can sort of see it's called the Red Sea. Obviously, it can be quite an intense blue-green colour, but the blooms of algae, I'm not going to say the name because it's quite complicated, can sort of turn it into that brown reddish colour, which is where it gets the name from. And I have put the Great Barrier Reef here as well. Obviously, it is the world's largest coral reef system. It's got over 2,900 individual reefs and 900 islands. It's located off the coast of Queensland in Australia. It contains the world's largest collection of coral reefs, 400 types of corals, 1,500 species of fish, and 4,000 types of mollusk, which are like shellfish. I don't know if you know that. They've got like shells on them.
Don't people eat them?
Yeah, they do. So it's things, if we take mollusks in the UK, you've got mussels, oysters, those sorts of things, which personally I don't like eating. I think they're a bit gross, but personal preference.
Yeah.
So then I'm going on to talk about threats to coral reefs. I'm not sure how sort of knowledgeable you are in this area.
Well, there's pollution, there's fishing. Like Molly pointed out, there's trawlers dragging their nets along and breaking coral.
Which I think that really hurts my feelings, even saying that. It's so bad. It really is so bad. Yeah, so I've gone for pollution. I saw so much of this when I went to visit the Red Sea. I've spent over 6 weeks. I stayed there, and it's horrific. You think the photos are bad when you type it into Google and it comes up with a plastic bag on the coral or something like that. It's just littered. It's really bad. And what you can do when you go out, if you're snorkeling or diving and you're just swimming around in the sea, you can take a bag and you can attach it to you and you can sort of collect some of the stuff. But even doing that, you're never really going to make a massive dent in it. You come back the next day and it would just be littered again. So it's really bad. And it's damaging to the coral. If you get larger bits of pollution, you can get big oil tubs and containers that are just thrown down. I mean, especially in somewhere like Egypt, I think they're not so educated as we are in somewhere like the UK. So for them, you've got a lot of holiday resorts along the coral reefs, and you've got big jetties and piers that reach out into the coral. And one of the places that I visited, the whole pier was completely destroyed, and they rebuilt it. But you'd walk along and you think, oh, this is a nice new pier. You get in the water and the old pier had just been smashed on top of the coral and it was just laying there, which was horrible. But obviously the fish are great and the marine ecosystems are great, and they can sort of make the best of what they've got, and you can see where some of the coral's starting to grow and new ecosystems are forming around the jetty. But even then, it's obviously a major impact on it. Yeah, next one. Overfishing, it's a major threat and thought to affect more than like 55% of the world's coral reefs. Fish is a really important part of people's food web. Obviously, you know, if you go to a restaurant, there's going to at least be a couple of types of fish on there. And coral reefs give you the more exotic type fish, which a lot of high-income countries, like places like China and India, are really after. So that's what they sort of harvest a lot of to provide to those countries. Yeah, you can sort of see the picture there, which is showing, you know, it's not just a small quantities of fish.
This thing has gone wrong.
You what, sorry?
It's put me out of it.
Can you
It's just put me out of it. Is it okay if I start this meeting again?
Yeah, sure, you can try.
Okay, I'll be back in a second.
Just re-click the link.
Okay, I'm back. Perfect.
Bingo, you see it?
Yeah, I can see everything.
Perfect. Brilliant. I'm glad you said, because otherwise we go all the way through to the end and you'd be like, yeah, I couldn't see any of that. Okay, that's not great. Just me waffling on. Okay, so next one is climate change, which obviously you're pretty aware of.
Yeah.
Everyone's pretty aware of it now. So yeah, there's not very much to say about climate change, because people are starting to really open their ears and starting to listen to what people are saying about it. In terms of how it actually affects the coral, if we go back to the first one here, and you can see the structure of the polyp, this basically just becomes extremely acidic on the outer epidermis. So the changes in the pH affect the structure, and it's no longer able to catch its food with the tentacles and, you know, survive and therefore reproduce. So each polyp is just going to die basically because it's not able to get the nutrients in to help it survive. Yeah, so basically we call it coral bleaching. I don't know if you know this, but it's just, you can see in the picture, the colour is
it's just completely going.
Yeah, and it's actually really horrible to look at. It does not have the beauty, obviously, because it's just the white colour. And that basically is the coral dead. And you see this in mass amounts. It's not just one section of coral, it can be like a whole reef. Obviously, you've got a fringing reef. There are lots of different types of structures of reef, and some are a little bit more prone to it than others. But when you see it on a big scale, it's just, obviously that means that you won't have as many organisms there, such as all your fish, and it's just derelict, and it's just like a normal rocky seabed, shall we say. So we've got solutions to help protect coral reefs. Again, lots of these you'll probably know, but there's sort of, I've scaled it a little bit. So on a global scale, you've got the big things that the governments and your big companies are doing, which is probably, I like to say, it's better than what each individual does, because there are individuals that won't follow things like recycling, and the problem that we're looking at, which our coral reefs are facing, global action is needed to sort of counteract that and to help that. I don't think on the small scale it's really going to make a dent at the stage that we're at. If you don't know if you know, but by 2050 there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish. So it's just facts like that that are really, really startling. And I think our governments and the big companies are starting to notice, and we're starting to make changes. So the Kyoto Protocol basically was made to start taking better care of our environment. The Paris Agreement, which is sort of redone every, I think it's 5 years, and countries sign up to that, and they basically make pledges and they say they're going to do certain things. You've got the Millennium Development Goals as well, which again are sort of things that countries have to reach when they all sit down together in their big meetings. They basically pledge that they're going to do certain things to help the environment, because obviously as part of a government you have to make sure you take into consideration the environment as well as the people. You've got the EPA agency, things like Clean Water Acts, that's more on like a smaller country regional basis, national parks and marine protected areas. It's still quite bad the fact somewhere like the Red Sea is not a marine protected area because it is so vulnerable, but maybe one day, might be a bit late, but we'll see. We can be optimistic.
Okay.
Things like going green, you probably know this, buying energy efficient products, recycling. Obviously we're over consuming a lot. If you look in your bin, you've probably got so much stuff, which is, a lot of it's just going to end up in the oceans, and that will end up going to places with coral reefs. Travel smart. Using even things like public transport is better than having your own car and commuting just in your car, because it's producing less CO2, which is obviously contributing less to climate change, and climate change is leading to coral bleaching. So it's sort of like a chain reaction, if you know what I mean. Volunteers to beach cleans. Have you done a beach?
I have never gone to beach clean actually, because all the beaches near us are pretty small and there's generally not that much fish on them. We do pick up there on the beaches.
Yeah, when you're a bit older, or when that opportunity becomes available, I definitely recommend you to do it. It's actually a really good experience as well. It's very educational to be able to see what you find. Yeah, I just say it's a good thing to do. Reduce pollution. Obviously, we've got the 5p on plastic bags things now in shops, which is meaning people are reusing their plastic bags. Things like that are great. When you visit the ocean, respect the ocean. As you can see on this picture, can you see where the boat has sort of anchored itself to the coral, and when obviously the anchor has to come loose, that's going to damage the coral.
Yeah.
Small things like that. So to summarise, they're really important, coral reefs, for both marine life and also humans. You know, fish is a staple diet for lots of people, and coral reefs are a big habitat for marine life. They occupy less than 1/4 of the marine environment, but hold more than 25% of all known reefs. Provide shelter, protection, barriers to the land if you're getting things like tropical storms in places which are along the equator. And by protecting the reefs, we're not only protecting the marine population on a large scale, but also our food, our economy, and our land.
Yeah, because if we don't have any fish, that will be a big impact on the markets.
Yeah. Do you have any questions at all?
Well, relating to fish in coral reefs, would whales go anywhere near coral reefs or dolphins?
Less likely. In somewhere like the Red Sea, you're not going to get that as much. Well, you're not, basically. You don't see them. I haven't ever seen any there. I don't think you're going to get them in places like the Red Sea because it is a sea. Whereas somewhere like, let's take the Seychelles and places like that, which have got smaller coral reefs, or the Great Barrier Reef, that is a possibility. But because sometimes coral reefs can be extremely large and quite, if you're looking at the first picture there I've put on the main page, that is sort of taken, there's only about, should we say, 8 inches from the top of the coral reef to the top of the water. So in lots of places, obviously a whale is not going to be able to fit through that sort of space. I don't think it's their preferred habitat, but there you go.
Okay. Would dolphins go in there?
Yeah, a lot of dolphins. Again, obviously where the water level is a bit higher, because being a larger marine mammal, they've got to fit through. But yeah, you see a lot of them. You see them in lots of pods. Very beautiful. Bless them.
And speaking of pods, why do killer whales travel in pods?
Probably a predation thing. So you're not just going to get one killer whale going towards a massive, say like krill, being like their diet. You want to get them hunting in sort of groups, which is better for them, more efficient.
And plus, they're very sociable animals, so they wouldn't really want to.
Similar to dolphins, dolphins are also extremely sociable. They love being around other dolphins. We don't blame them, to be honest, in a massive ocean. I'd want some company.
You know, the fish just don't really interact. They just do their own thing, and yeah, that's it.
No, they don't. You get some which are actually really, really violent as well, and they don't like having or other fish there. Different types of behaviour, I guess. Some are really lovely and sociable. Butterfly fish, I think, are really lovely and social. They're quite happy to have you snorkeling around. Whereas take something like a lionfish and a few other types of fish, they don't want you there.
Lionfish are really poisonous, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they can be deadly. They can actually kill if you get stung by them. I met a person there who was a resident at the site that I was sort of diving and snorkeling off of, and on his arm he said that he got stung about here and his arm blew up to probably like the size of an elephant's leg. It was when he got stung, so you just sort of see how big it can get when it swells. So
yeah. How are boxfish poisonous?
Boxfish?
Yeah.
So they're not poisonous. It's in their skin. You can get some which are poisonous, so you can get yellow, brown, and loads of different colour variations. Some aren't and some are, and you can sort of see that by their spot pattern. Have you got a picture of like? No, I can't really get one.
I can get one in a new tab here.
Yeah. But some are and some aren't. It depends on their spot pattern. The most common one is the yellow boxfish.
Yeah, got yellow boxfish.
Very cool. They're very cool to look at.
Yeah. This one's the one I'm looking at right now is quite spotty.
Is it?
Yeah, would that be poisonous?
I'm going to look at a picture. 1 minute.
The wicked scenario. Oh, wow, the white spotted boxfish is actually really cool.
Yeah. Have you seen a red one? They can get red ones as well.
Really?
Yeah, like a dark. It's like more like a reddish brownish one. You see? I've got a yellow one here.
Oh wow, they look pretty cool.
Yeah. So what they do is they release a toxin. It's like a toxin in their skin, and they can release it from their skin. Camera's going funny. Oh, that's weird. That's better. Oh, it's still wobbling all over the place. We'll go with that. Yeah, they release a toxin, and if you actually put them in a fish tank with other fish, because obviously lots of people like to do that, have them for themselves, that sort of thing, it can actually kill all fish in a tank. It's that poisonous.
Including the boxfish?
If they had other, not themselves, but if they were other boxfish, depending on like the amount and quantity they release. But I guess they're sort of immune to their own toxins, because otherwise, what's the point of releasing the toxin? It's probably
pretty much like you're stuck at gunpoint and you just shoot yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Self-destruct mode.
Yeah, that would be a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah. Are there any kind of birds that don't venture near land at all?
There any sort of what? Sorry.
Any sort of birds that only live at sea, like they don't venture towards land?
Oh, do you know what? I don't know. I don't know that.
Some birds. So most birds do return when they have to breed. So we were talking about puffins earlier. So puffins, actually, Atlantic puffins, they spend their whole time at sea, except when they come to land to lay their eggs. So they raft. So they're hunting and they raft in groups on the ocean for almost 9 months of the year, and then for the rest they're just on land laying their egg, and then they go back out. So they're such a small little bird, but they have a very kind of tough life cycle. So they later.
Thank you.
Hard little bird, are they? So they're a hard little bird. Like,
yeah, so they're actually tiny. They're about this big. Like they kind of fit into like a mug kind of size. They're half a foot tall. But they endure so much. Like they spend their whole lives besides when they're breeding or they are teens and observe. So they spend 90% of their life in the Atlantic Ocean, rafting and feeding.
Guys.
Yeah, and if you look up pictures of them as well, when during the year, their bill and everything is actually black. It's only when they come to land that they start developing the colours in their beaks and stuff, because it's used to attract their mate. Like when they're not breeding, they look really funny. You wouldn't almost recognize them.
That's quite funny.
Yeah.
So, interesting.
You got any other questions, Jack?
Yeah, the one I once went out to Kerry with my mother and my grandmother, and I was wondering, why do dolphins bow ride?
Why do dolphins what? Sorry.
Bow ride. Like when they're jumping around in front of the boat.
Oh, what, you mean they come over to the boat? Were you in a boat and they were coming over to the boat?
Yeah, when they're bouncing around at the stern of the boat.
Oh,
no, at the bow of the boat.
Do you know what? A lot of it is for social interaction.
Okay.
And because they are, I'll think about this. They're like acrobatic swimmers, so they love doing that sort of thing. So they love jumping up and flipping. Yeah, that's sort of the main reason why, is because they are acrobatic swimmers and they like doing that, especially when they see people, because they're very, very sociable.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay. So, yeah. That's all the questions I thought of today. So, anyway, thanks for that.
And thank your mom as well for setting up the Zoom. And we'll be in contact over email. And if you want to do it again on a Monday, let us know.
Okay. I'll probably have some more questions. But
thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, you're welcome.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye. Okay. Bye. Bye.